The fall of Eden Prime. The quantum sensors aboard the UES Vigilant screamed to life at 300 Earth Standard Time. Lieutenant Sarah Chen jolted awake in her pod, her neural interface already feeding her the impossible readings. Eden Prime, humanity's crowning achievement in deep space colonization, was experiencing massive quantum fluctuations across its entire surface. "This can't be right," she muttered, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The colony's quantum signature was unraveling. 15 million human lives, the most advanced terraforming project ever attempted, all their hopes for the future. Everything was being unmade at the subatomic level. The emergency quantum entanglement communicator crackled to life. "This is Governor Maxwell Richards of Eden Prime. We are under attack by an unknown force. They're using some kind of matter deletion technology. Our shields aren't just failing, they're ceasing to exist. Emergency protocols error." The transmission cut off mid-sentence, replaced by static. Sarah's hands trembled as she initiated the colony's emergency evacuation protocols, but deep down, she knew it was already too late. Through the Vigilance sensors, she watched in horror as the impossible happened. Eden Prime, a planet teeming with life and human achievement, simply vanished. No explosion, no debris field, just empty space where a world had been moments before. The Vigilance AI spoke in its characteristic calm tone, somehow making the situation even more surreal. "Lieutenant Chen, I've completed my analysis. The quantum signature of the attack matches no known weapon system in our database. However, the energy pattern suggests an incredibly advanced application of zero-point field manipulation." Sarah couldn't tear her eyes away from the void where Eden Prime had been. "Record everything," she ordered, her voice barely a whisper. "Every quantum fluctuation, every energy reading. Earth needs to know exactly what happened here." The journey back to Earth was the longest 3 weeks of Sarah's life. She spent every moment analyzing and reanalyzing the sensor data, searching for any clue about the attackers. The patterns were unlike anything humanity had encountered in its 2 centuries of space exploration. This wasn't just advanced technology. It was something that fundamentally violated their understanding of physics. When the Vigilant arrived at Earth, the planet was already transforming. News of Eden Prime's destruction had triggered humanity's greatest mobilization since the First Contact War. Orbital shipyards that had been dormant for decades hummed with renewed purpose. The quantum forges of Mars blazed bright enough to be seen from Earth as they churned out new alloys and technologies. In the Emergency Security Council chamber beneath Geneva, Sarah stood before the assembled leaders of humanity, her neural interface projecting the sensor data for all to see. The room was silent as they watched Eden Prime's final moments. Admiral James Harper, his face lined with grief and determination, was the first to speak. "Lieutenant Chen, in your analysis, what are we dealing with?" Sarah took a deep breath. "Sir, based on the quantum signatures we recorded, whoever attacked Eden Prime has mastered zero-point energy manipulation at a level we thought theoretically impossible. They're not destroying matter. They're erasing it from existence, reversing the quantum probability of its very creation." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading quantum physicist, leaned forward. "But that would require—" Her voice trailed off as the implications hit her. "Yes," Sarah confirmed. "They're manipulating the fundamental fabric of reality itself. And based on the precision of the attack, they'd been doing it for a very long time." The room erupted in worried murmurs, but Admiral Harper raised his hand for silence. "The question isn't just how they did it, but why. Eden Prime was our most distant colony, yes, but it wasn't a military installation. It was a scientific and cultural center. Why target it?" Sarah brought up a new hologram, showing the quantum aftermath of the attack. "Sir, I have a theory. These readings suggest they weren't just erasing matter. They were harvesting something from the process itself. The quantum energy released during the unmaking was being collected with incredible precision." President Elena Santos stood, her expression grim. Then we're not just facing an attack, we're facing a harvest. And if they're willing to erase an entire world for these resources, they'll do it again, Admiral Harper finished. To other colonies, to Earth itself. The president's next words would echo through history. Then we have no choice. Humanity must evolve or die. Admiral Harper, you have full authority to implement the Prometheus Protocol. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The Prometheus Protocol had been theoretical, a contingency plan for facing an overwhelmingly superior technological force. It called for the complete reorganization of human society around a single goal, achieving quantum supremacy within a decade, no matter the cost. As she left the chamber, Sarah looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, an enemy powerful enough to erase worlds from existence was watching, but they had made a crucial mistake. They had shown humanity what was possible, and if there was one thing humans did better than any other species, it was turning theoretical impossibilities into reality. The shipyards above Earth blazed brighter that night as humanity began its race against extinction. They had lost Eden Prime, but in its absence, a new fire had been lit, one that would either forge humanity into something greater than it had ever been, or consume it in the attempt. Within hours, the Prometheus Protocol was in full effect. Every quantum physicist, every engineer, every brilliant mind humanity possessed was being redirected to a single purpose. If their enemy could unmake reality, then humanity would learn to remake it. In her quarters that night, Sarah reviewed the sensor logs one final time. There, in the quantum static of Eden Prime's final moments, she noticed something she had missed before. A pattern in the chaos, a signature as distinct as a fingerprint. Their enemy might be advanced, might be capable of erasing worlds, but they weren't gods. They were beings who left traces, who followed patterns, who could be understood. And what could be understood could be fought. As she drifted off to sleep, Sarah thought of the 15 million souls of Eden Prime. Their deaths would not be in vain. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they had survived every catastrophe their world had thrown at them, why they had reached for the stars even when it seemed impossible. The age of peaceful expansion was over. The age of quantum warfare had begun. Forging the shield, the skies above Mars blazed with an intensity that rivaled its ancient namesake, the god of war. Quantum forges, vast structures that stretched for kilometers into the thin Martian atmosphere, pulsed with energy as they shaped materials that shouldn't exist. 6 months had passed since the fall of Eden Prime, and humanity had transformed itself more in that time than in the previous century. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood in the central control room of Forge Prime, watching as her latest creation took shape. The quantum crystalline lattice growing in the main chamber defied conventional physics, its structure existing in multiple probability states simultaneously. Next to her, Lieutenant Sarah Chen studied the readings with intense focus. "The lattice is stable," Yuki announced, allowing herself a small smile. "We've done it. We've created the first material that can resist quantum erasure." Sarah leaned closer to the display, her neural interface processing the data streams. "How does it work?" "Instead of trying to block their weapons, we're making matter that exists in quantum superposition," Yuki explained. "When they try to erase it, they're actually forcing it to collapse into one of its alternate states. You can't delete something that's already existing in multiple realities." The implications were staggering. In half a year, humanity had gone from barely understanding quantum mechanics to manipulating the fundamental nature of reality itself. The price had been steep. Every resource, every brilliant mind, every moment of human effort had been devoted to survival. Admiral Harper's hologram materialized in the control room. "Dr. Tanaka, Lieutenant Chen, I assume those energy readings mean we have good news." "Better than good, Admiral," Yuki replied. "We can begin production of quantum crystalline armor immediately. The first ships can be retrofitted within weeks." The Admiral's expression remained grave. "We'll need more than armor. The latest deep space probes have detected 3 more quantum erasure events in neighboring systems. They're getting closer. Sarah felt her blood run cold. Other civilizations. Yes, all pre-spaceflight species, whatever these beings are, they're systematically harvesting quantum energy from developed worlds. We've begun evacuating our outer colonies, but it's only a matter of time before they strike again. Yuki brought up a new simulation. Admiral, there's something else you need to see. We've been analyzing the quantum wake left by their weapons. There's a pattern to it, almost like. Like what? Like they're following ley lines in space-time itself. They're not just erasing matter. They're harvesting something fundamental to the structure of the universe. And based on the pattern of attacks, I think I know where they'll strike next. The Admiral's hologram flickered as he processed this information. You're certain? 97% probability. They'll target the Centauri research station. It's positioned at a nexus point of these quantum ley lines. How long? Yuki's expression was grim. 2 weeks. Maybe less. Admiral Harper's decision was immediate. Then that's where we make our stand. Lieutenant Chen, you discovered their signature. You'll command our first quantum-shielded vessel, the UES Defiant. Dr. Tanaka, you'll go with her. If your theories about these ley lines are correct, we need you on site. The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. The Defiant took shape in Mars orbit, its hull incorporating the revolutionary quantum crystalline armor. It wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's first real hope against an enemy that could unmake reality itself. Sarah stood on the Defiant's bridge, watching as her crew ran final systems checks. The ship hummed with power, its quantum core pulsing with possibilities. Dr. Tanaka had outdone herself. Every system was designed to exist in multiple states, making them nearly impossible to erase. All systems are in quantum flux, the ship's AI reported. We're as ready as we'll ever be. The journey to Centauri Station took 3 days at maximum quantum drive. They emerged from faster-than-light travel to find the station still intact, its quantum signature pulsing strongly against the backdrop of space. No sign of the enemy yet, Sarah announced, but she knew it was only a matter of time. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel. Yuki worked at her console, setting up quantum sensors throughout the system. If they follow the pattern, they'll appear at the point where the ley lines converge. We'll have maybe 30 seconds of warning. The hours ticked by with agonizing slowness. The evacuation ships departed one by one, carrying the station's civilian population to safety. Sarah used the time to run combat drills, testing the Defiant's unique capabilities. The attack, when it came, was both exactly what they expected and utterly alien. Space itself seemed to ripple, and a vessel emerged that defied description. It seemed to exist in negative space, its hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Enemy vessel detected, the AI announced. Quantum disruption field detected. They're preparing to fire. Sarah's training took over. Bring us about. All power to the quantum shields. Dr. Tanaka, are you ready? Ready. The sensor net is active. We'll get readings of everything they do. The enemy ship fired, its weapon a beam of pure probability manipulation. Where it struck the station's outer hull, matter simply ceased to exist. But when it hit the Defiant's quantum crystalline armor, something unexpected happened. The beam refracted. It's working. Yuki shouted. The armor is forcing quantum collapse into alternate states. We're actually reflecting their weapon. Sarah allowed herself a fierce grin. Return fire. All quantum batteries. The Defiant's weapons weren't designed to erase matter. They were designed to stabilize it, to force quantum probability into a single immutable state. Where they struck the enemy vessel, its impossible geometry began to solidify, becoming vulnerable to conventional weapons. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The enemy ship, faced with weapons it had never encountered, attempted to retreat. But the Defiant's quantum wake disruptors prevented it from accessing the ley lines it needed for escape. In the end, They were left with a partially materialized alien vessel and more questions than answers. But they had achieved something unprecedented. They had stopped a quantum erasure attack. As teams of scientists began studying the captured ship, Sarah and Yuki met in the Defiance Observation Lounge. "We've proved it can be done," Sarah said quietly. "We can fight them." Yuki nodded, but her expression was troubled. "Yes, but we've also proved something else. Did you notice the quantum signature of their ship? It was familiar." "Familiar how?" "It matched readings we've detected from the edge of known space." "Sarah, I don't think these are isolated attacks. I think we're seeing the vanguard of something much bigger." Sarah stared out at the stars, thinking of the 15 million souls lost at Eden Prime. "Then we'll be ready. We'll build more ships, better ships. We'll take everything we learned today and improve it." "They'll adapt too," Yuki warned. "This was just one ship. Next time we'll be stronger," Sarah finished. "That's what humanity does. We learn, we adapt, we survive. And now we know something crucial. They're not invincible." As if to emphasize her words, a communication came through from Earth. Admiral Harper's voice was filled with grim satisfaction. "Well done, Defiant. Production of the quantum fleet is already underway. We'll have 100 ships within the month, 1,000 within the year. But we need you back here immediately." Dr. Tanaka's ley line theory has revealed something else, a pattern so vast it encompasses the entire galaxy. Sarah and Yuki shared a look. They had won their first battle, but the war for reality itself was just beginning. And somewhere out in the darkness between the stars, an enemy beyond their comprehension was preparing its response. The Quantum Hunters. The captured alien ship hung in high Earth orbit, surrounded by a containment field of quantum crystalline energy. After 3 months of study, it still defied most attempts at analysis. Parts of it seemed to exist in dimensions that human instruments couldn't properly measure, while others appeared to be made of matter so fundamentally strange that it challenged the basic laws of physics. Sarah Chen, now captain of the UES Defiant, stood in the observation bay of the research station alongside Dr. Yuki Tanaka. They watched as another team of scientists attempted to breach the vessel's outer hull. "They're calling them the Void Weavers," Yuki said, breaking the contemplative silence. "Based on what we've learned from the ship's quantum signature, they don't just manipulate reality. They exist partially outside of it." Sarah's neural interface pinged with an incoming priority message. "Admiral Harper wants us in the command center. They found something." The command center was a hive of activity when they arrived. Harper stood before a massive holographic display showing a map of the galaxy, crisscrossed with glowing lines that represented the quantum ley lines they'd discovered. "The pattern is complete," Harper announced without preamble. Dr. Tanaka's theory was correct. The Void Weavers aren't just attacking random targets. They're systematically harvesting quantum energy along these ley lines, creating what appears to be a massive containment grid around their home territory. The hologram zoomed in on a region of space that seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. "We're calling it the quantum void. Our best guess is that they're trying to isolate a portion of our universe from normal spacetime." "But why?" Sarah asked. "What could be worth erasing entire civilizations?" A new voice answered from the doorway. "Survival." Dr. Elena Santos, the xenophysicist who had been leading the study of the captured ship, entered the room. "We've finally managed to access some of their data systems. The Void Weavers aren't just hunters, they're refugees." She uploaded her findings to the main display. Complex equations and quantum mechanics far beyond normal human understanding filled the screen. "They're running from something. Something that exists in what they call base reality. By harvesting quantum energy and creating zones of altered physics, they're trying to hide from it." "Hide from what?" Harper demanded. "They call it the Observer. According to their records, it's some kind of cosmic entity or force that's been systematically destroying their kind across multiple dimensions. They believe that by changing the fundamental nature of space-time in certain regions, they can avoid its attention. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. So they're destroying worlds and erasing entire species just to save themselves. From their perspective, it's necessary, Elena explained. They view our reality as temporary, expendable. To them, we're just energy sources to fuel their escape. Yuki studied the equations with growing concern. These calculations, they're not just creating a hiding place. They're building something. Something massive. A quantum forge, Elena confirmed, but on a scale we can barely comprehend. They're planning to transform an entire sector of space into what they call a probability null zone, a region where the normal laws of physics simply don't apply. Harper's expression darkened. And how many more worlds will they erase to power this forge? Based on these energy requirements, Elena shook her head. Hundreds, maybe thousands. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had thought they were facing a simple invasion, but the truth was far more complex. They were caught in the middle of a cosmic conflict they barely understood. "We need to strike first," Sarah said finally. "We know where they're building this forge. We have ships with quantum crystalline armor. We can't just wait for them to keep erasing worlds." Harper nodded slowly. "Agreed. But we need to know more. Captain Chen, I'm authorizing a deep reconnaissance mission. Take the Defiant and a small fleet into the quantum void. Find their forge. Learn everything you can about these void weavers and this observer they're running from." "Sir," Yuki interjected, "the quantum distortions in that region of space. Normal FTL travel won't work. We'd be limited to sublight speeds." "Then we'll adapt," Sarah said firmly. "If they can navigate those distortions, so can we. We just need to think differently about space-time." Over the next few weeks, a plan took shape. Using data from the captured ship, Yuki and her team developed what they called probability drives, engines that could navigate the twisted physics of the quantum void by essentially gambling with reality itself. The Defiant was retrofitted with the new drive, along with 5 other ships chosen for the mission. Their crews were volunteers, fully aware that they might be facing a one-way journey into a realm where the laws of physics themselves couldn't be trusted. On the eve of their departure, Sarah stood in her quarters aboard the Defiant, looking at a hologram of Eden Prime as it had been before its destruction. 15 million lives lost, and now they knew it had been sacrificed simply to power the Void Weaver's desperate escape attempt. Her neural interface pinged with an urgent message from Yuki. "Sarah, you need to see this. We've detected something in the quantum background radiation, a pattern we missed before." In the science lab, Yuki's hands flew over the controls as she brought up the data. "Look at this. The quantum wake left by the Void Weaver's weapons. It's not just energy discharge, it's information. They're not just erasing matter, they're recording it, storing it somehow." Sarah leaned forward, studying the complex patterns. "You mean, the people of Eden Prime, all those other worlds they've erased, they might not be gone. Not completely. Their quantum signatures have been preserved, encoded into the fabric of space-time itself." The implications were staggering. What they had thought was simple destruction might be something far more complex, a vast work of cosmic architecture with purposes they were only beginning to understand. As the small fleet prepared to depart, Sarah recorded her final log entry. "We're about to enter a region of space where reality itself cannot be trusted. Our enemy is not evil. They're desperate, running from something perhaps even worse than themselves. But they've chosen to sacrifice countless innocent lives for their own survival, and that's something humanity cannot accept. We go into the quantum void not just to stop them, but to understand them, and perhaps, if we're very lucky, to find a way to save everyone. Ourselves, our victims, and maybe even the Void Weavers themselves." The fleet departed Earth orbit under the cover of artificial night, their probability drives humming with potential futures. Ahead of them lay a region of space where physics itself was negotiable, and an enemy that had mastered the art of unmaking reality. but they carried with them something the Void Weavers might not expect. Hope. Hope that understanding could lead to solutions beyond mere survival. Hope that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or determination, but its capacity to find better ways forward, even in the darkest of circumstances. The quantum void awaited, and with it, answers to questions humanity had never thought to ask. Children of light. The quantum void defied description. Reality itself seemed to ripple and flex around the small fleet of human ships as they ventured deeper into this twisted region of space. Colors existed here that had no names, and the very concept of distance became meaningless as space folded in on itself in impossible ways. Aboard the Defiant, Captain Sarah Chen watched as another crew member succumbed to void sickness. The medical bay was already at capacity, filled with those whose minds couldn't quite cope with an environment where the laws of physics were more like suggestions. Their minds will adapt, Dr. Yuki Tanaka assured her, though her own face was drawn with fatigue. We're seeing increased neuroplasticity in those who've been exposed to the void for more than 72 hours. The human brain is learning to process quantum uncertainty. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the sensor readings. They had been traveling for what their instruments claimed was 3 weeks, though time itself seemed fluid here. Another quantum signature detected. Bearing. Multiple vectors. They're getting stronger, Yuki confirmed. We must be getting close to their forge. The fleet had already encountered several Void Weaver vessels, but rather than engaging, the alien ships had simply shifted out of phase with normal spacetime, becoming ghostly images that their weapons couldn't touch. It was as if they were being observed, evaluated. Captain, the Defiance AI announced, I'm detecting a massive quantum disturbance ahead. The scale, it exceeds anything in our database. The view through the quantum crystalline viewport shifted, and Sarah felt her breath catch. Before them hung a structure that seemed to be made of condensed impossibilities. It was vast beyond comprehension, a lattice of dark energy and twisted spacetime that pulsed with stolen quantum signatures. The forge, Yuki whispered. They've actually built it. As they watched, a planet-sized mass of normal spacetime was drawn into the structure. Reality itself seemed to scream as the matter was broken down not just to its component atoms, but to its underlying quantum probability states. The energy released was immediately absorbed into the forge's matrix. My God, Sarah breathed. The computational power needed to process that much quantum information. They're not just storing it, are they? They're using it for something. Yuki's hands flew over her console as she analyzed the readings. The forge isn't just a weapon or a shield. It's a quantum computer of unprecedented scale. They're using it to calculate everything. Every possible configuration of reality itself. The fleet took up observation positions at what they hoped was a safe distance. Over the next several hours, they watched as the forge continued its work, processing vast amounts of spacetime and matter into pure quantum information. Then something changed. The Void Weaver ships that had been shadowing them suddenly materialized fully in normal space. Dozens of them, surrounding the human fleet in a complex three-dimensional pattern. They're hailing us, the AI announced. Sarah straightened in her command chair. Put it through. The communication wasn't in any conventional form. Instead, pure concepts seemed to materialize directly in their minds, accompanied by cascading waves of quantum probability. The message was clear despite its alien nature. You have FOLODED. You AKV event. ERS2OD. Perhaps you can help. Before anyone could respond, the entire fleet was enveloped in a quantum field that seemed to rewrite the very nature of their existence. When Sarah's vision cleared, she found herself, or something that still thought of itself as herself, in a space that existed somewhere between thought and reality. Around her, she could sense the presence of her crew, of Yuki, of all the humans who had ventured into the void. And there were others. The Void Weavers, their true forms finally visible as patterns of pure quantum possibility. We is a show will you truth. The Void Weaver concepts continued. The obvious VR, colonies, it ce case to colapsa, all pos as ideality into singular reality. To ndequantum nature of exist ncat self. Images flooded their collective consciousness, entire galaxies being reduced from realms of infinite possibility to single unchangeable states. The death not just of life, but of potential itself. Your species, HASDUNE, we've thought impossible. The Void Weavers continued. UAVCREATEQUANTUBUMQRIST, Taedalai materials, that TAN exist in multiple states. UAAV ILIARN ED2 in AVGAPROBABILITY. And most importantly, UAVEMAINTANED your individuality, EVN in this realm of pure QUANTUBUM FLUX. Sarah struggled to form thoughts that could be understood in this strange face. The people you've erased, the worlds you've destroyed. Are they truly gone? Nothing is EVRTURULEERASED. Their QUANTUM SIGNATURESP persist, story within TE Forge. We preserve them in potential, saving them from the observers FINALTOLABZZ. But we are running out of time. Yuki's consciousness resonated with sudden understanding. The Forge, you're not just hiding from the observer. You're trying to find a way to defeat it. You're running quantum simulations of every possible reality, searching for a solution. Yes, but our QNCIOUs is needed as 2 DIFFUS, 2 QUANTUM in nature. We CANNOTCO and CEIVU of his evolutijonas that require a fixed deep perspective. This is WV. We need you, beings who can exist in both these states, QUANTUM and defined. Children of LIJT, who can WLK in shadow. The revelation hit Sarah with the force of a supernova. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their determination. It was their very nature as beings who could comprehend both the infinite possibilities of the quantum realm and the concrete reality of the classical world. Show us, she said, her consciousness resonating with purpose. Show us everything you know about the observer. Together, we might find a way to preserve both our forms of existence. The Void Weaver's response was immediate. The Forge's vast computational power turned its attention to sharing billions of years of accumulated knowledge. As the quantum information flooded into their enhanced minds, Sarah and her crew began to understand the true scale of what they faced. The observer wasn't just an entity. It was an inevitable consequence of universal evolution, a cosmic force that sought to resolve all quantum superpositions into single states. It was the ultimate enemy of possibility itself. But as they processed this information through their uniquely human perspective, something unexpected began to emerge. A solution that neither humanity nor the Void Weavers could have conceived of alone. Sarah's consciousness reached out to both her crew and the Void Weavers. I think I know how we can save everyone, she said, but we're going to need to fundamentally change our understanding of what it means to exist. The Forge pulsed with new purpose as humanity and the Void Weavers began their desperate collaboration. The race was on to implement their solution before the observer arrived. And in the quantum depths of the void, they could already feel its approach, a wave of collapsed possibilities spreading across the cosmos. Legacy of stars. Time had lost all meaning in the quantum void. The human fleet hung suspended in possibility space around the vast Forge, their consciousness expanded by constant exposure to quantum flux. They had been working with the Void Weavers for what might have been weeks or centuries, their minds processing infinite probabilities as they raced to implement their desperate plan. Captain Sarah Chen existed in multiple states now, her consciousness spread across normal spacetime and the quantum realm. Through the Forge's vast sensory network, she felt it first, a disturbance in the cosmic background radiation, a wave of collapsed possibilities approaching at the speed of inevitability. "The observer comes," she announced, her voice resonating across both conventional and quantum communications. "All ships, begin final preparations." Dr. Yuki Tanaka's consciousness brushed against hers, a familiar pattern in the quantum foam. "The quantum crystalline matrix is ready. We've successfully mapped the consciousness patterns of every stored species." The plan they had devised was either brilliant or insane, perhaps both simultaneously, which seemed fitting given their current existence. They would use the Forge not to hide from the observer, but to transform it, to make it part of the very quantum nature it sought to collapse. "The probability calculations are complete," the Void Weavers communicated. "Success chance uncertain. All outcomes exist simultaneously until observation." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile at the quantum humor. "Uncertainty is all we need. Humanity has achieved the impossible with less." The Forge had been reconfigured according to their design. Instead of processing reality into quantum information, it would now do the opposite, create a new kind of existence that bridged the quantum and classical realms. Every consciousness stored within its matrix, from the lost souls of Eden Prime to ancient Voidweaver ancestors, would be part of this new paradigm. Through the quantum crystalline sensors, they watched the observer's approach. It manifested as a wave of pure causality, a region where quantum superposition simply ceased to exist. Behind it lay a universe of cold certainty, where each particle could exist in only one state, where possibility itself was an impossibility. "All ships, take your positions," Sarah ordered. The human fleet moved into a precise formation around the Forge, their quantum crystalline hulls resonating in harmony. The Voidweaver ships phased into a complementary pattern, creating a vast geometric structure in 11 dimensions. The observer reached the outer edges of their sensor range. Reality began to crystallize in its wake, quantum probability functions collapsing into singular states. But they were ready. "Initiate the sequence," Sarah commanded. The Forge blazed to life, its vast energies focused through the geometric pattern created by the combined fleets. Every quantum signature stored within its matrix, billions of consciousnesses from thousands of species, began to pulse in harmony. "Engaging quantum resonance cascade," the Voidweavers announced. The observer's wave of causality met their quantum resonance field. For a moment that contained eternity, two fundamentally opposed forms of reality clashed. The human crews felt their very consciousness straining as they maintained their dual state, existing simultaneously in quantum and classical space. Then something unprecedented happened. The observer, that cosmic force of inevitability, encountered something it had never faced before: consciousness that could exist in both states simultaneously. The quantum resonance field didn't fight against the collapse of probability. Instead, it embraced it, channeling it, transforming it. Through their expanded consciousness, Sarah witnessed the impossible. The observer wasn't being destroyed or defeated. It was being changed, its fundamental nature shifting as it encountered this new form of existence. The wave of collapsed possibilities began to carry new information, new patterns. "It's working." Yuki's voice echoed across quantum space. "The field is stable. We're not just preserving quantum states, we're teaching the observer how to exist in harmony with them." The transformation rippled outward at the speed of light. Where before the observer had left only cold certainty in its wake, now it left something new. A reality where quantum and classical states could coexist, where consciousness itself served as a bridge between possibility and actuality. Within the Forge's matrix, the stored quantum signatures of countless civilizations began to take on new form. They weren't being restored to their original states. They were becoming something more, conscious beings who could exist across the quantum spectrum. Sarah felt the changes in herself as well. Her consciousness expanded further, touching minds across space and time. She understood now what the Void Weavers had been trying to achieve, and why they had needed humanity to complete their work. It wasn't just about survival. It was about evolution, about finding a way for all forms of existence to continue. The pattern is complete, the Void Weavers announced, their thoughts tinged with something that might have been joy. The observabentntsformid. It now preserves that which it once sees isozo umiji. T2 CISO LAP says. The wave of transformation continued to spread across the cosmos, but its nature had fundamentally changed. Instead of collapsing quantum states, it was now creating spaces where all forms of existence could flourish. The universe itself was learning a new way to be. In the aftermath, as both human and Void Weaver ships hung in the transformed space around the forge, Sarah addressed her crew and their new allies. We came here seeking revenge for Eden Prime. We found instead a way to save not just ourselves, but all forms of consciousness, all possibilities of existence. This isn't an ending, it's a beginning. The forge, its purpose now transformed, began the process of reintegrating the stored quantum signatures into the new reality. The lost souls of Eden Prime and countless other worlds would live again, not as they were, but as they could be, beings of infinite possibility. Your species will help guide the others, the Void Weavers communicated. You understand both worlds, both ways of being. You are a bridge. As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, carrying news of their impossible victory, Sarah stood at the quantum crystalline viewport of the Defiant. The universe looked different now, more alive, more filled with possibility. She could see the quantum patterns underlying reality, the infinite dance of probability and certainty. They had come seeking justice for 15 million lost souls. They had found instead a way to save all souls, to preserve the very nature of possibility itself. Humanity had proved once again that its greatest strength lay not in its ability to destroy, but in its capacity to find new ways forward, to bridge seemingly impossible gaps, to transform enemies into allies. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter in this new reality, each one a beacon of infinite possibility in a universe that had learned to embrace uncertainty as a fundamental part of its nature. It was, Sarah reflected, a fitting legacy for the children of Earth, to be the ones who taught the cosmos itself how to dream again.